GM folks, apologize for being a little bit late in getting this started. Had some technical difficulties, but looks like we're good now. Things are running smoothly. So if you're coming in, we're going to be just waiting a little bit for folks to start trickling in. I see some folks already starting to come in as well. If you are part of this workshop live, drop in a Gmove in the chat. Would love to see some crowd participation during this as well. Hopefully we don't get interrupted like last time from my daughter, but apparently some of y'all like that. So, I don't know if she'll be making an appearance this time. I actually locked my door, so she may not be coming in today. Just to give you kind of like an idea of what we're going in through today. This is a follow-up to the Move 101 live stream that we did a couple of weeks ago, meant to kind of like build up on some of the concepts that we covered there. So in that, we covered a little bit of deployment and whatnot. Here we'll be building some front ends on top of that and exploring some more concepts on the Move side of things in Aptos Move. So I'm going to get started in just a few minutes. So we'll sit tight while we wait for some more folks to start trickling in. And again, if you're part of this, make sure you drop a Gmove in the comments and you may be featured on the stream. So we'll give that another few more minutes. Okay. All right. Cool. Just sharing the link out to a few more places. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with today's workshop. So this is full stack Move, also part of the overall Battle of Olympus hackathon. For those of you who are participating and who are newer to Move, this session as well as the last session is really meant to help you kind of like get up to speed a little bit, start conceptualizing things in the Move ecosystem. Last time, like I said, we went over some basics of deploying. Today, we'll be talking about some front-end details as well as deeper concepts within the Move language. So, hey again, my name's Rahat, former hip-hop artist, front-end engineer, freelance Solidity dev, now currently building and teaching with Move. It's been a little bit of time here at Movement Labs. Been really fun so far, and really interesting getting to know a lot of folks in the Move ecosystem and learning from a lot of you as well. And got a quick Gmove here from Baytar Integrated. For other folks, definitely drop a Gmove too. I see quite a few folks now, more coming in as well as we're getting through the beginning of this workshop. So cool. So quick agenda for how this is going to work for today. We're going to do a quick recap of Move 0 to 1. We'll just kind of like briefly cover like what we went over last time. And then we'll look at a nice little front end integration that I created for that specific module and smart contract. You'll be looking at different solutions like Razor and Nightly. These are two of the wallets that are available, like if you've been doing some of our Galaxy quests, and we'll be showing you how to like integrate these two wallets as well as like other wallets into your dApp as well. After that, we're going to explore some Aptos standards. So last time we did like a basic kind of hello world kind of like deployment example. This time we're not going to do a deployment of another contract, but we're going to go through like the different concepts of like the Aptos standards, as well as objects, and like understand how to like build more complex solutions. Then I'll give you some more things to explore within the Aptos Move ecosystem, and we'll talk about some additional resources. So In case you missed the last one, one of the big things to kind of like remember is that the Suzuka testnet, which is our testnet where you might be deploying a lot of your code, is fully Aptos Move compatible. So that's why a lot of this concepts here is like focused primarily kind of like around Aptos Move. But we also, of course, have like the EVM and SUI environments. So you would still be able to interact using those two environments. This presentation, just like the last one, however, is more focused on getting you up to speed on the Aptos Move side of things on our testnet. So let's start with a quick recap. Last time, let me go ahead and pull up the code. And unlike last time, I will remember to zoom in so you can like see this properly a little bit. Last time we went over just like a basic deployment of this like Hello Blockchain messaging system here, where folks can create a struct resource to hold a message and then update and change that message as needed. So we kind of tested that out for using these node scripts. So this node script is just using the Aptos Labs TS SDK. So any of the SDKs and APIs, like we mentioned, everything here is Aptos Move compatible. You can use any of the dev tools that you may already be used to if you are already an Aptos developer. If you're new, then these might be new tools for you to learn. But tools are just tools. You look at the APIs, you look at the usage and build with them. The concept should be the same, even if you're coming from, let's say, like a Solidity background. So we saw just like how to run a Node.js script and like read and update these type of things, but let's actually look at how this would look on a front end. So a few days ago, I actually shared out this demo that I had created. And this is just basically a simple React application using the Razor wallet kit. So I'll do a quick demo and then we'll dive into a code. But you've got a connect button here. I'm going to connect to my Razor wallet, confirm, and you'll see that I'm now connected. I've got this little pop-up here I can disconnect with if I wanted to. And I'm going to click get message. And get message will give me the current message that I have on my struct, on my resource struct that is created for my account. If I did not create one, I believe it just shows a generic message like actually create one here. So if I wanted to update this, so gmove friends on stream and hit submit, I can now go ahead and sign for this transaction. And if I wanted to take a look at this on our Explorer, I can see this transaction is successful on the testnet, done completely from my Explorer. I hit the message or the set message function on the contract, and this is all being done from the front end. So how does that interaction actually look like within the code? Let's take a look at the implementation here. And this is with our Razor wallet kit example. I will zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. And there's not a lot of dependencies here. The two main ones, we're still going to be using the Aptos Labs TS SDK. So similar code to like what we used on the Node.js script, as well as the Razor Labs wallet kit. So Razor Labs has really cool SDK for integrating, connect buttons, the modals that you saw for choosing your wallet, as well as like really nice like React hooks that you can use to actually execute a lot of your transactions. So within the source file, if we start just like with our app.tsx, actually let's go out into like our main.tsx. The main thing you want to do when you set up your Razor Labs wallet kit is to make sure you import the Aptos wallet provider from the SDK, and you're going to make sure that you wrap your entire app inside of that wallet provider so you have access to everything, the context of that within the app. looking at app.tsx, there's a couple things in here. I imported the Aptos Connect button and this use Aptos wallet hook. The use Aptos wallet hook, all I'm doing from here is just getting this connected Boolean, which is going to let me know whether I'm actually connected to the end user's wallet or not. And depending on that, I will display either these messages or just simply display the connect button. So we saw that here. So if I hit disconnect, when I'm not connected, all I see is this connect button. And then when I am connected, we actually display the rest of the components for the React app here. So the way that works, again, is just based on this Boolean and conditionally rendering these two components here. So see a question. I just began learning JavaScript, how to understand the code's logic. Yeah, this can be a little bit daunting if you're like coming into JavaScript for the first time. So a lot of like front-end code that you see in Web3 and different applications are built on a framework called React. So this is a React-based application that uses JavaScript. Definitely recommend, going over modern JavaScript a little bit before, you dive into some of this stuff. I'll drop a couple of resources if you're kind of like new to the front end world within our Discord later on. Maybe that'll be helpful. And maybe some like much older content that I've done in the past on like front end stuff. But definitely recommend taking a look into JavaScript and into React if you're going to be working on like the front end side of things here. But this specific thing here, this like conditional rendering, it's kind of like an if statement. Like if I'm connected, I show this stuff. Otherwise, I'm just going to show null, which is just don't render anything on the page. So that's kind of like the best way to understand kind of like the logic of this page. But thank you for the question, right? Cool. So that is like our landing page. Let's take a look at how our message display and create actually works. So for message display, there's a couple things in here. So in my constants file, I actually created a get message function, right? So I've got utils, not utils, constants. There it is. So I have a constants file that has my module address and the functions that I want to actually interact with, which is my set message function and get message function, right? So I just put that in here so that you can easily kind of like update it as you need if you're using this as like a template. But if we come back into the message display, the main thing what I'm really doing here is importing an Aptos client, which I have defined in this Aptos client folder. This is really just using the Aptos Labs SDK, connecting to the app testnet, the Suzuka testnet for Movement Labs. Once you've established that connection, we're now just like reading data, right? So this is very similar to what we did in our node script, where we were just reading some data about the current message. So this is now being ported into a front end where I've got a button that says get message, and handling that message is using the Aptos client.view functionality to actually view the function. So the code pretty much is exactly the same as our Node.js scripts from last week. It's just being used in a front end and attached to a button. So you can, of course, simply use the Aptos Labs TS SDK for like doing basic interactions with contracts that are deployed on Suzuka as well. Now, going outside of that, let's go to creating the message. Now, again, additionally, like you can continue to do stuff using the Aptos Labs SDK, but I really like what Razor Labs did with some of their hooks. And one of these hooks from the Use Aptos wallet gives you this sign and submit transaction function, which just makes it a little bit quicker and like easier to like set up interactions with contracts. So in this case, I've got this handle change function here. This is just looking at the form and like whatever I'm typing in the form. So I grab like the input from this text here. I'm saving it to state. And that's going to be in this input message here. And then eventually I want to submit my form and actually like update the message that is on my smart contract. So here we're using the sign and submit transaction function that was given to us from use Aptos wallet, and passing it the payload, which is just like the function and function agreements. Again, this is based on the Aptos Labs TS SDK, but a nice little React hook that you can just simply import and use within your app. So here I'm just like doing a set message of transacting. You actually probably won't even see this happen on the front end, because like it happens very, very quickly. That you get like the result.status back, which is great. In some slower networks, you might see this message or some loading image, popping up. With how quick things are running, you probably just won't even see this, or maybe very, very briefly for like a fraction of a second see that. And then I'm just alerting a link to the actual hash of the transaction once that transaction has gone through and been approved. So you can definitely add in like different states if you wanted to, for like when the transaction is pending, when the transaction has eventually been approved. You might see that on like different dApps. So those are all things that you might want to consider as you're like building out your UI and additional components that you want to like add in. I would also recommend not doing an alert. Definitely do use something like a pop-up toast or Sonar type component, so that there's like a nice little UI for your end users to actually come in and view their transactions when needed. So this is the kind of like overview of like the front end for our Razor Wallet Kit example. Now there are other methods of looking at how to integrate your front ends. If you head to like our implementation example, I've also added the nightly movement template. So the nightly movement template uses like the nightly connect SDK in order to integrate a lot of these things. So it's very, very similar to Razor Wallet. What nightly kind of like gives you is like things like QR codes and deep links. So if you want to do like mobile kind of like integrations as well, this could be pretty useful for that. So this links over to the Movement Web3 template that Nightly Labs has put out. And if we can actually take a look at their front end, they've got a nice little design going on for their front end. I think at some point I'll have to talk to our design team to make sure our own templates look as nice as this. But here, very similar to actually disconnect, reconnect, so that you see you get a nice little pop-up. You can scan the QR code to log in with the mobile app. It's detected both Nightly and Razor. It'll auto detect like the different wallets that you may already have that are compatible with Movement. So this time I'll just come in with Nightly, sign a message, I love Nightly, approve, etc. And yeah, this is just like another option for how you can integrate your front ends as well. Cool. So we've gone over some of the front end integrations. Let's dive a little bit into some other things that you can do within. I always pick the wrong button here. Some other things you can do, other things that you want to build, help you build out your dApps. Got another quick question. If a mass of people connecting the wallet at the same time and make the wallet crash, where do we start to fix that? Or should we investigate first with the logic? Should we wait for the wave? So interesting question, really cool stuff. Obviously, we've had lots and lots of folks coming in using our test nets. So there have been, maybe some issues with transactions and things like that. I would say you definitely want to like look at and diagnose where the problem came from. Check if it actually came from the wallet. Maybe it's just there's a massive load on the network, and there's some transactions are not going through as you would expect. So there's different points that you'll want to take a look at around there. Generally, I don't think it's really the wallet. It might be like a connection with the RPC or anything like that. Recently, we've actually pushed some updates to the Suzuka RPC endpoint on our testnet so that we're handling the load of transactions a little bit better. So hopefully you'll be seeing definitely like less and less of those issues with like a lot of folks coming in and using it. And transactions maybe not going through. So yeah, to answer your question, it kind of really depends. You've got to like look at the logic. You've got to look at where the issue is occurring. I would say it's probably not the wallet itself, but looking at maybe errors within the smart contract, interaction with the RPC, or the request to the RPC going through, are they failing? What's going on there? Those are probably like your main things to look at. Loving the questions. Thank you again, Rai, for participating in here. There's quite a lot of folks in here now. So like, if you do have questions, drop them in the chat. I'm always happy to go over them. It feels like I'm just talking to like this mass number of people that are hidden somewhere, but it'll be nice to know that y'all are actually here. So thank you, Rai. Cool. So yeah, like I said, now we're going to go into more concepts to help you build. Starting first with like Aptos standards. So it's important to understand like some of the Aptos standards, especially since you'll be using a lot of Aptos Move when you're building on the Suzuka testnet. And we're going to go over some of like the different standards of things that you might expect. I'll be doing a lot of analogies with like the EVM world. That's just like my background, where I came from. And I know quite a few folks who are participating in Battle of Olympus also kind of come from that background. So forgive me if I use a lot of EVM references. It seems like a lot of the audience is from that realm. So it'll just make it easier to explain things. So there are different types of like token standards that exist on the Aptos side of things. We're going to start with the legacy and then go into like the modern modern implementation of these standards. We'll start off first with NFTs. So the legacy standard for NFTs is the Aptos token standard. The design principles that are used to that are built around this standard really focus on a couple things: interoperability, liquidity, and rich on-chain properties, right? So if we look at kind of just like an overview, these kind of things just allow for like NFTs to exist on Aptos. So generally, token most NFTs, token metadata exists to like give you information about each of these NFTs, right? So token metadata can be on-chain or off-chain. Typically, a lot of folks, when they're building NFTs, they'll keep it off-chain. It's generate a JSON file. It has all your information that you need for your actual NFT, name, collection, etc. All that stuff is there. This token center is very, very similar to ERC 721 and ERC 1155 because Aptos NFTs are also like often part of like a collection, right? So there's generally a collection of NFTs. The cool thing with Aptos token centered though is like they kind of like push for more data management on chain using the property map module. So the property map actually allows you to specify different types of custom metadata that could be on chain and like attached to your NFT. So things like rarities, things like, maybe there's like a score or like different properties of your NFT, maybe hair color or other kind of like visual properties that exist for like your NFT image. So these are all like cool things that can both be on-chain or off-chain. Theoretically, you can have on-chain you can have on-chain, metadata on the EVM side, but like things kind of get pretty heavy and gas intensive the more you do that. So it's really cool to see the property map module here for this. So the next, so going off of first, I guess this is the legacy standard for Aptos token standard for NFTs. You should still definitely dive in and learn about it because there will still be existing NFT collections in the Aptos world that may be copied over or ported over into Movement. So you should understand both the legacy standard as well as the modern standard. And the modern standard is digital assets. So like I said, latest NFT standard on Aptos Move, and it's designed to replace the Aptos token standard. So with the digital asset standard, you can much more easily customize and extend these NFTs via Move objects. And we're going to dive into what Move objects are in a little bit. But it's designed to make things a little bit easier, like I said, to customize and create like more robust use cases. Transfer process for digital assets are simplified a little bit more. Generally, like with the Aptos token standard, you have to do something where you like opt in and then begin to transfer. If you come from the EVM world, it's similar to like approving a token before transferring it or using it in a dApp, right? Which is rather than like a two-step process, there's like a simpler transfer process here for digital assets. And one of the cool things that I saw with like DA tokens is that like digital asset tokens can actually own other tokens or other NFTs, similar to like what token bound accounts can do on Ethereum. So imagine your NFT can like now own other NFTs, right? This would be really cool for like gaming use cases where you might have like, let's say, an AI agent that has an NFT that owns like other assets as well. And it's really cool for like kind of like grouping together different digital assets so that you can kind of like one shot kind of like move things around. But yeah, the overall the main kind of like things to understand here, that it tokens can be tokens can be transferred, mutated, burned, as you would expect from like all other NFTs. The direct NFT transfer, like I mentioned before, it allows for recipients to just simply transfer without having to like do the opt-in process. So some of the key differences, so some stuff I mentioned before, obviously the Move objects transfer. There's also like NFT composability, which was kind of like lacking in the Aptos token standard, not quite there. So in the EVM world, we kind of like had to do stuff around token bound accounts. Here, this kind of like digital asset is kind of like a more streamlined standard that has all of the different aspects of like token bound accounts and other things there. So I've appreciated kind of like, as I've been learning, like looking at just how digital assets sort of like, rather than, give you a whole bunch of different standards to use, kind of like replace the original standard so that you have something more composable and I guess useful. Cool. So we've talked about NFTs, now coins or tokens, right? So fungible, the coin standard, or this is like the legacy standard, is the fungible token standard framework for Aptos. So if you're coming from EVM, this is very similar to like ERC20 tokens, right? So these are coins which are defined using a coin struct, which stores value of the coin. So you have to have this resource struct that has the value of that coin. Different folks have these, stores of value of that coin. A coin type is what's used to actually distinguish different coins. So I can, deploy multiple coins into one account or into one account. So like if we go back to how we deployed that messaging app in last week's tutorial, I can deploy multiple types of coins into like one account. These are all distinguished using the coin type. So coin type will give you like specific data about each of the coins and distinguish them from one another. Coins are stored in a coin store struct within global storage, and this helps you with doing things like tracking events for deposits and withdrawals. And then the metadata of the coin is held inside of a coin info struct. So these are all just like the typical type of pieces of data that you would see in the coin standard. Now, coin standard is now evolving into what we call the fungible asset standard. So you'll see some similar things in here as to the digital asset standard. It's the modern replacement for the coin module and easy customization extension, again, via Move objects, which again, we'll go into in just a second, and automatic management of fungible stores. And one of the cool things is like customizable deposit and withdrawal logic via dispatchable hooks. So you can like really dive in and add additional logic around, what you might want to happen when folks deposit your assets or withdraw assets from different places. So a lot more composability, similar to what the digital asset introduced for NFTs. This introduces for coins. So yeah, we've talked a lot about objects. And so what exactly are objects? So Move objects help you with grouping resources together, right? You treat multiple resources as like a single entity on chain for more complex data types. And this is what helps to do a lot of like the cool things that we mentioned in the NFT slide. Because like now, NFTs objects can own other objects, right? So like NFTs can actually own multiple other NFTs. They're more flexible. You can add additional logic to them. Objects themselves are kind of like accounts. They all have their own addresses. So things just kind of like become a bit more composable. Here's like a code example from the Aptos developer documentation of like a very basic object. And you'll see here, like this is meant to just give you an example of like managing multiple resources. So you have like multiple structs here, creating resources, and that whenever you transfer this single object, you can actually transfer all of the resources associated to the object to another person. So now translate that into like NFTs owning other NFTs, adding additional logic for things on the coin side as well. This is how you get a lot of that composability. So definitely recommend doing an overview of objects as you're kind of like building out some of your solutions there. Throughout the next couple of days, you'll be seeing a lot of these types of examples added to the implementation repo here, as well as to our docs. So keep an eye out on those for further practice and usage of those. I do see a couple questions. So from Alexander, I used deploy a contract in Aptos module, but I have no idea about my front end. Can you talk about different interactive front ends in Aptos and Aptos module movements? Let me know if there's, I guess, like a specific question you have on the front end side. So the beginning of this workshop was like primarily focused around the front end side, doing things like using, Raise Your Wallet Kit, etc. So if there's anything you want me to dive deeper into, let me know what the question is, and I'm happy to dive deeper into that. Cool. I do see another question, but I'm just going to quickly go through the rest of the presentation since there's just a little bit left, and we'll come back to questions afterwards. If you do have more questions, definitely drop them in. I'm going to spend the last few minutes of the stream kind of like going over those. Cool. So what else to explore with Aptos Move? Some additional items to explore that would definitely improve, the user experience of your applications, as well as, allowing you to like look at, different use cases and stuff like that. Sponsored transactions with fee pairs, using the Aptos TS SDK. This is supported, and you can take a look at like how you can actually do things like setting up like gasless transactions for your end users. So if you're not building like specifically a DeFi app and you want more like Web 2 or Web 2.5 experiences in your dApp, you can, have some type of fee pair set up to like create less friction for your end users, so they don't have to do like the KYC elements of going through a centralized exchange and onboarding, fiat to crypto and all that stuff. So definitely take a look at that. There are resource accounts. These are accounts that essentially do not have like private keys attached to them. You can deploy these and use them to deploy other contracts and do. This is very similar to like account abstraction, or the account abstraction or smart account paradigm in the Ethereum side of things. So using like a account that is controlled by a smart contract rather than or code rather than a key. Aptos Move has a lot of cool things like on-chain randomness. Definitely check that out for like more use cases there. We have other third-party deployments of infrastructure. An example here is like oracles such as Pyth. So if you're building on the DeFi side, you need price feeds or anything like that, Pyth is currently deployed as one of our oracles. You can also, we're also talking to like more infra providers so that you have more options for like other things, aside from price feeds as well. Cool. Additional resources. The main thing is going to be, like I mentioned, this implementation example GitHub. I'm going to drop it into the chat real quick so folks kind of have that. I will also drop this in our Discord and everything later. Like I mentioned, there's going to be a few more things added to this implementation repo over the next couple of days, so be on the lookout for that. More code examples on like the smart contract side. So if you want to take a look at like different examples, how you build basic implementations, we'll be adding a lot of those here, so that you have like different starting points for your ideas or apps to go from. And thank you all for attending. If you're part of the Battle of Olympus, definitely excited to see what folks are building, especially those who are like newer to Move. And thank you for joining in to today's stream. You can follow me online at Rahat Codes. Generally pretty accessible, happy to answer questions. Definitely drop them in our dev chat and Discord. And if you ever want feedback on your ideas or anything further, I'm happy to answer. Opening it up to any questions that folks may have. I did see like a fun little question here, I guess. One other one from Ray. This question out of topic, but what blockchain project do you most like? So I enjoy, I've been really enjoying folks who are trying to build fun games on chain. I think for a while, a lot of people have been just trying to build games on chain just for the sake of having games on chain. But I've seen a lot of people like shifting over to like saying, okay, let me just build a fun game and see like what parts actually make sense to be on chain. So that's been like one of my favorite things to see in the ecosystem right now. There's a bunch of folks in the Battle of Olympus, I think, that are working on games. There's folks who've like launched with us with like our initial testnet launch, who've been building games there too. So like I grew up playing games all the time. I'm an avid gamer. That's what I love to see there. Question, is it possible to do a transaction like swap or send coin without gas fee? Yeah, so that was kind of like one of the things that I had mentioned, like stuff that you would want to take a further look at. If you're using the Aptos TS TypeScript SDK, it does have like options to essentially have a different address sign and pay the fee on behalf of the end user. So you could like set up some type of like wallet to like pay for transactions. And in those cases, you could have the gas fee paid. I don't know if like swapping and stuff is like the best use case for like no gas fees, because like I feel like generally if you're swapping, then you have, you know, you've already onboarded yourself and like funds on chain. So maybe for those folks or those use cases, it might not be as useful. But like things like games, things like maybe free NFT drops and things like that would be good use cases for like paying for the gas fees. But yeah. Any other questions? And yeah, like Pritch Trans mentioned, these are definitely both things that Sui and Aptos both have. And on our test net, since we're kind of like one-on-one with Aptos, you can definitely set that up as well. Cool. I will give it maybe another 30 seconds for anyone else to add in any last minute questions. There's like 800 folks in here, but only a few of you are actually asking questions. So either I'm doing a really, really good job, or you're all just like really bored and don't want to interact with me, which makes me a little sad. But hopefully, maybe you kind of understood stuff and got something out of this. Like I said last time, we kind of like primarily focused on deployment. This time we focused a little bit on like the front end side of things, as well as looking into like diving deeper into what else you can build during the Battle of Olympus. So yeah, thank you folks for joining in. Thank you all for attending our second DevRel session. We'll be doing more in the future. I'll be accessible on Discord as well. So keep an eye out for future episodes. Thank you.